And I remember when my family got the internet, I was just fascinated with websites. And Java, I started out as a Java developer, then switched over to JavaScript. I did a little Python, really much of a writer. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was like, okay, I'll try. And I did it. And people seemed to respond well to my blog. So I kept blogging.
That's the voice of Lauren Schaefer. Lauren is a colleague of mine and of Nick's here at Mongodb in the developer relations team. Lauren joins us today to share her story, her journey, becoming a developer and an engineer, and transitioning into developer advocacy. Fascinating discussion. I love Lauren. She's a great person and a great inspiration. I hope you enjoy the episode as much as I enjoyed talking with Lauren.
You're listening to the Mongodb podcast. Mongodb podcast? Exploring the world of software development, data, and all things MongoDB. And now your hosts, Michael Lynn and Nick Raboy.
With us today, we have Lauren Schaefer. She's been around on a few Twitch streams, a few podcast episodes in the past. This episode is going to be a little different. It's going to be more about Lauren's journey as a developer and be going into developer relations as a developer advocate. And it's hopefully going to be a very inspiring story that other developers who are looking for maybe a change or an intro into the field on what they can do. But Lauren, do you care to introduce yourself in case this is somebody's first time?
Hey everybody, my name is Lauren Schaefer. I'm coming to you from Pennsylvania, which is on the east coast of the US. What else about me? I don't know. My favorite color is pink.
Indeed. And how long have you been with MongoDB?
Just over 2 years.
So I think we're going to get into it shortly. We're going to talk a little bit about your journey to developer relations and as a developer advocate. But what's your title at MongoDB? What do you, I guess I'll leave it at that. What's your title?
Yes, I just got upgraded. I'm now a staff developer advocate.
Ooh, congratulations.
Thank you. I've been chatting with Ken this morning, and Ken was sending me links to staffs on Etsy. He thinks I should carry around a big staff now. They were pretty ugly. I think if I'm going to pull that off, it needs to be pink and bedazzled and sparkly, and yeah.
And you got to learn how to twirl that bow staff.
That's true. Yes.
Terrific. Well, I think we were going to focus on the journey to developer relations, and it's a journey that I've taken myself. So I'm curious, can you tell us a little bit about your background? How did you get into computer science? Do you have a degree specifically in computer science? And how did you get started with programming?
Yeah, so we're going to go, I guess we'll go all the way back to middle school and high school.
To the beginning.
Start all the way at the beginning. So I was always very interested in computers. My favorite subject in school was math. I loved math. I loved how concrete everything was. There's always a yes or no, right or wrong answer. And I remember when my family got the internet, I was just fascinated with websites. And so I went to an actual physical bookstore and picked up a HTML for Dummies book, and I started reading it. And I started building websites. And I mean, website, they were pretty basic. I mean, we're not talking anything fancy, but I loved the idea of coding HTML, did a teeny bit of CSS, and I thought it was a blast.
Mm-hmm.
So is this pure with an editor, or were you using something like Front Page or Dreamweaver back in the time?
Back at that point, I was just using probably Notepad. I don't remember what I was using. It was very basic. So
Awesome.
Then when I was in high school, I was a Girl Scout. So shout out to the other Girl Scouts out there.
Yes.
And we were trying to figure out what I was going to do for my Gold Award project. So the Gold Award project is a big service project. It's a 50-hour project, kind of equivalent to the Boy Scout, Eagle Scout. And we were trying to figure it out. And I loved building websites. And my Girl Scout leader said, I know this nonprofit that needs a website. Will you build it for them? And I was like, yes, let's do that. So that's when I picked up Dreamweaver, started coding there, learned how to use Flash, built them a little Flash intro. Back in the day, Flash intros were very cool. So it was very snazzy and had a lot of fun with that. So when I started figuring out what I was going to do for a major, my parents were like, you like computers, you like websites, you should do computer science. And that's all we knew. We didn't really know what computer science was, but we decided to go for it. And that's how I got into the field.
Outstanding. That's a great start. Is that similar to your background, Nick?
It's similar. Yeah, I didn't actually start with websites. I think I started with just very basic games. So that was kind of my era right there.
Okay.
But
Great.
still basic stuff, nothing complex.
Yep. So you studied computer science, and
I did.
And then tell me about what happened after you graduated.
So I stuck around after I got my bachelor's, and I got a master's in computer science as well. Then I was off into the world, and I went and became a software engineer at IBM. So I was there for 8 years doing various roles. I did a little software development. I did test automation. I did growth hacking for a year. I did full stack. So got a lot of good range of experiences there.
All over the place. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Terrific.
And what technologies were you using over there in particular?
So we were using DB2, over at IBM, and Java. I started out as a Java developer, then switched over to JavaScript. I did a little Python. I don't know, a little everything, I feel like.
Love DB2. Spent some time working on that back in my days at Merrill Lynch back in the day. Terrific. So you're working at IBM. You're involved in a bunch of different activities. And what happens to bring you to the point where you start working on some things that are not specifically engineering software, but are more in the realm of developer advocacy?
So one of the things that I was always talking with my management about is, what do I need to do to move up to the next level? And I always kind of had this dream of looking up, and I saw the distinguished engineers above me, and I was like, what do I need to do to get there? And so they always were talking to me about expanding my scope and increasing my sphere of influence. So one of the things they suggested I do was start blogging. And I wasn't really much of a writer. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was like, okay, I'll try. And I did it. And people seemed to respond well to my blog. So I kept blogging. And then I kept having those types of conversations. Okay, what should I do? And at one point, my manager emailed our whole team. We were building developer tools at the time. And she said, we need to be at developer conferences. We need to be talking to developers about our tools. Everybody go speak at conferences. So someone sent out a big list of conferences that we should apply to speak at. And I saw one in London. I had never been to Europe. And I was like, that's the one. I'm going to that conference. And so I applied, and my submission was very bad. The organizers took pity on me, helped me fix it up, clean it up, and accepted my proposal. And off I went to London to go speak at my very first conference, which was pretty cool.
Fantastic. Do you remember the conference that you spoke at?
It was XP Day. So it was an Agile conference.
Extreme programming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. That's great. So during the transition, I know I'll talk about myself for a minute.
Yeah.
During my transition from just doing straight coding to incorporating writing blog articles and doing screencasts and some of the things that kind of stretch you outside what traditional engineering is, I know that I began to feel a bit of doubt about that process and fear around leaving my software engineering skills behind. Have you experienced that at all?
I have. And I think at IBM, those extra things I did kind of helped set me apart as an engineer. It was very much, I was still doing my core engineering role, and I'd write a blog every once in a while, or I'd go speak at a conference, or I'd answer user questions. And so I was doing dev advocacy, but kind of on the side. But when I transitioned into full-time dev advocacy, that was something I was very much concerned about. And I really had to make the decision, like, am I okay with the possibility of never returning to full-time engineering? And ultimately, I decided that I was. I think this is a really good fit for me. It's got a lot of flexibility, but yeah, it is a big step. And I'm not sure. I know Tim, who used to be on our team as a dev advocate, successfully transitioned back. So I know it's possible, but it can be a hard transition.
Yeah. Yeah. I think whatever you do, whatever it is that you're doing, you need to follow your passions. And at least I do. I'll say this, spending all of my time writing code, there are periods of my life where I did that and I felt completely fulfilled. However, there are also periods of my life where I feel like I'm not scratching an itch. I'm not fulfilling the creative, some of the non-engineering creative side. And I feel like this role just gives you an opportunity to just do so many different things that it really is a complete for me anyway, it is a complete portfolio. It matches precisely where my passions lie. So let's dive into a little bit about what it is that you do as a developer advocate. You want to talk a little bit about the various things that you get involved in?
Yeah. So as you mentioned, there's a wide breadth of things, and I feel like every day is different and really every week is different. But there are a couple things I try to focus on. So every month I'm writing pieces of content for our developer hub, which is our developer blog. I also create very produced and curated videos that you can find on the MongoDB YouTube. And then the other piece that I really focus on is speaking at developer events, which is one of my favorite things to do. Mm-hmm. So those are the big three for me, but there are people on our team who do other things as well. Like I know you all are always doing the podcast. You're on the Twitch streams all the time, live coding. I know that I'm trying to, we all write sample applications. That's one of the best parts of the job, right? Actually coding. Mm-hmm. What am I missing? I know there's other things.
I think
we do more than just sample applications, right? Like we're involved in some heavy duty projects as well.
Well, you're building the whole video game. So yes.
And
you're building something amazing too, right?
We're working on it.
Yeah. So we work on the Dream team together. So working on some analytics projects for the team, which is very cool. I completed sign up and student management for the GitHub student developer project, which is part of the things we do here at MongoDB. MongoDB and GitHub are in a partnership. Spoke at the GitHub Universe yesterday. Still going on today.
Oh, nice. How did that go?
Oh, it went really well. I think there were something like 40,000 attendees at GitHub Universe, and 15,000 of those signed up to follow the educational track, and that's where our session was located. But enough about me.
We're also on the community talking with our users on a regular basis, which is great because we get to help people be successful in their projects, and then we get to bring that feedback back to the projects, the engineering teams, and make our products better.
Yeah, one of my favorite things to do. Yeah, so if you're listening in and actually, want to chat with us, want to ask questions, obviously not at the moment because we're on the podcast, but I know that all three of us spend a good bit of time in the community. So just get yourself an account at community.mongodb.com. Stop by and say hi. So now that we understand a little bit more about what it is that you do, tell us what is your favorite thing to do? What do you really like to do more than anything else?
I really love speaking at conferences, and it's still very scary to me. And I get very terrified each time. So it's not like I'm one of those people who's just like, yay, like I have no nerves and I'm up there and everything is great. But it's such a challenge to me every time I do it that after I do it and I feel like, I've got my demo, it went well, everything went great, I got positive feedback, and I get off the stage and I go, oh my gosh, that felt amazing. So I love speaking at conferences.
Likewise. I really feel fantastic when it's going well. I mean, obviously there are opportunities for major challenges, especially when the audiences are large, but I think that adds to the payoff, to the reward. Mm-hmm. So I'm positive that there are going to be people listening to this that are wondering, okay, great. So I'm a developer and I really want to do some of these things, but how? Lauren, tell us, how can we possibly get involved in, let's say, speaking at conferences? How do you get involved in that?
So I was able to do it while I was still working as a full-time developer, which is nice because you can kind of try it out and see if you like it. But the process for speaking at conferences is typically that a conference will put out a call for speakers or a call for proposals, and then you go on and you apply to speak. So you'll submit your title, your abstract, and your speaker bio, and then they'll decide yes or no if they want you at the conference. And Sven and I actually did a MongoDB user group event maybe a month-ish ago. I don't know. Time during the pandemic is, all a blur, but a month ago-ish. And we talked about the whole process. So if you want to look for that recording, we'll find it at some point and we'll link it up here.
Yeah, we'll put it in the show notes for sure. So CFPs, call for papers. How much time do you think you spend looking for opportunities to speak?
I probably spend 30 minutes a week-ish. Mm-hmm. Because now I've got a pretty solid set of proposals. I submit the same, 3 talks to every conference, mm-hmm. but creating that initial proposal takes a couple hours to really flesh it out. And, coming up with an idea could take, a week or two of like thinking about it in the background. But once you've got your proposals, it's not too bad. Most conference proposal websites have pretty similar fields. You can just copy and paste your ideas in.
Mm-hmm. So you probably keep a Google Doc or something with each of these, and so it's a cut and paste exercise. Now, yep. I've been to a number of your talks, Lauren, and I absolutely love how you incorporate various themes. There are a couple of them that incorporate Parks and Rec.
It's my favorite show. How could I not?
It's like life through the lens of Parks and Rec. There's so many really good examples of, especially in the developer space. So terrific. So any other advice for somebody that wants to get involved in speaking at conferences? I
would say start with smaller conferences. If you start looking at different calls for proposals, you'll see some of them say specifically, we're looking for new speakers. You don't need to have experience. And some of the really big conferences will say, no, you need to have a detailed speaker bio. You need to have done this before. So look for conferences that specifically want new speakers and apply there. And also have someone get a mentor who can help walk you through it. And MongoDB has a speakers program that we will help you, we'll review your proposal, we'll help you get started. So if you don't have someone at your company that can help you, MongoDB would love to help you get started with with your speaker process.
So in regards to the conferences, I mean, the conference spectrum is enormous. Are there any, do you want to do a plug for any of your particular favorite events?
Yes, my all-time favorite conference. Well, obviously MongoDB Live is a great event. So we got to plug that. Every year I don't know, sometime next summer, we'll be having another one. It really is a good event. My all-time favorite conference is the Grace Hopper Celebration of Women in Computing. And it's grown. I first attended it back when I was in college, and it was a couple thousand people. And now it's massive. It might be like 20,000 people. I don't know. You can fact check me on Wikipedia, but it's this massive conference. It's got, it's nice to be around so many other women in tech and to feel the energy. It's just a really great conference.
Now, is there a lot of coding going on at that conference, or is it more of a networking event? What type of conference is it?
It's they do have a hack day, open source hack day, which I've never participated in. It's primarily learning. So there's breakout sessions on both soft skills and technical skills. And then there's a lot of networking. And then Friday night, there is a big party. It's just a good time.
Awesome. We have a question coming in. What are the dates to apply to the next MongoDB Live event? I don't think that's available yet, right, Mike?
I don't know. So perhaps while we're moving on, we can see if one of the team members will be able to get that.
I've heard the CFP is open. I just don't know when the deadline is.
Yeah, so we'll work on that.
So I actually would like to maybe hijack this a little bit and make a turn here. So I mean, as a developer, I don't know how IBM worked, but I assume you had certain goals and criteria that you had to meet every quarter or every year to sort of progress through professional growth wise, right? What does that look like as a developer advocate? I know that all three of us are developer advocates, but in your perspective, what kind of goals are we trying to reach to be successful?
Oh, that's a really good one. We just got a title matrix, and I don't remember it right offhand, but I think a lot of it is very similar to engineering, of increasing your scope and increasing your impact. So how many people are we reaching? Are we able to go in more depth and get more technical in our topics that we're talking about? Are we speaking at bigger events? So I think it's still a lot of the same things of scope and influence, but please jump in.
Yeah, and awareness. So it's all of the things that you can think about. So number of eyes on the blog entries that you write, number of listeners to the podcast, number of viewers on the YouTube, attendees at the conferences, and then attendees to your specific talks. All of the kind of obvious things count for sure. And
also, I think mentoring teammates and being a good team player comes in as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
So do you feel like you play the role of marketer as well in developer relations? I know that often we sometimes feel slimy, I think, when we refer to as sales or marketing, but maybe Mike doesn't. But to what extent of your daily or weekly or even monthly activity do you feel like is just non-technical marketing type stuff or similar?
I think of it as tech. I think it's always still technical. We are, representing the company. We do want people to use our products, but I think what sets developer relations apart from maybe sales or perhaps marketing is that we really try to be authentic. So if a feature isn't working quite right, we're gonna tell you, you know what, it's coming. It's not quite there yet. Or this part of the feature works really well. This part, And so we try to be really authentic so that we have developers trusting what we're saying.
And I think, you mentioned sales. We are clearly not sales. We're not trying to sell any product. We're not even, I would go so far as to say we don't push developers in any direction regarding the product set. I do think that we're responsible for knowing the product set, and it's almost like rather than push, it's pull. So we listen to the pulse of the developer community, watch for threads in the discussion forums, and when developers mention certain products, we want to make sure we bring accurate, relevant, and up-to-date information about those threads. Right. I wanted to touch on a perhaps awkward topic in engineering. I don't know why it has to be awkward. I don't think it's awkward, but in engineering, it's primarily a male-dominated field. Have you ever felt awkward or pressure or a certain way about your role because you're a female?
Yeah. Yes, without a doubt. I feel it sometimes if I'm the only one on a Zoom call of 6 people and it's just I'm the only woman. I notice. I don't know if other people notice, but I notice. The other piece that I kind of notice is that I don't always have the same interests as people on the team. And there are women who are like deep in geek culture and they live it. I'm not, Star Wars, the Treks. I don't know. I don't care. So I don't always relate to my teammates in the same way that they're relating to each other. And so that sometimes can make you feel a little bit like an outsider.
So as a male in this field, I want to be cognizant of that. What are some suggestions you would have for someone like myself that can make a more welcoming, safe space for non-male participants in the community? I
think just kind of bringing people into the conversation. So, I don't always have things to contribute to, like I said, people talking about the latest video games. So, asking how my weekend was, something simple like that, can make me feel included. But I think the big thing that males can do is really be advocates for female voices. So there is a lot of subconscious bias. And so something that I say may not be taken as seriously, may not be seen as correct as if it came out of a male voice. So having someone in my corner who's advocating for me, saying, Lauren knows what she's talking about, or I heard Lauren say this, like that is huge. That is big for me.
Yeah. And at the same time, giving you space and not mansplaining or getting right. So,
yes. Okay. Mansplaining was really hard for me when I was in college, and we didn't have the term then, but the guys used to think they were being helpful, but it made me so crazy. Things have gotten better. College was rough. I feel like dealing with kind of just male culture, but once I got into the work environment, things got a lot better.
Yeah. Good. How do you feel about your time at MongoDB?
It's been great. I can't believe it's already been 2 years. Like it's gone fast.
It really has. Yeah. Okay. We talked a little bit about your favorite things to do. We talked about what developer advocates do. What do you not like to do? What's in the portfolio of things that you have to do? And I like to refer to it things that as things that I'm blessed to do, even though they might not be my favorite.
I think answering questions that I don't have a solid answer for, that I don't know, always makes me feel really uncomfortable. So if I'm answering questions on social media or in the community and I don't know, or if someone asks me in a live Q&A, I just freeze up and that is very hard for me. So
you and me both.
I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, I just had this happen today. I'm working with one of the product marketing managers, and I'm helping with creation of some content. And there were some questions that came up about a particular operator that I've never used. I mean, it's going to happen. I think it's impossible for us to be experts on every facet of MongoDB. The platform has grown so immensely, and there's so many intricate details of the platform. So my approach to that, Lauren, is that I don't know is completely valid. And so I use that on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So Nick, what do you got? Where do you want to go with this?
Yeah, I mean, so you started at MongoDB as a senior developer advocate. You recently became staff. You said you got upgraded. What does that career path upgrade entail? I mean, a lot of people, maybe people who are listening to this episode, they're currently a developer advocate, but they don't know how to progress to that next level. What would you recommend to those people?
So for me, what I did in order, I had a lot of conversations with management, and I said, hey, what do I need to do to move up? And for me, the blocker was I needed to raise my profile internally and externally. And that is something hard for me. I am not one to go out and be like, I want to know everybody. Like, I'm not a social butterfly. So I was like, okay, how am I going to get people to know me when I'm working remotely and I like to just sit and get my job done? And so for me, that was very much a challenge. I think everybody's kind of got their own piece they probably have to work on as they work on increasing their scope and increasing their breadth of responsibilities. So, yeah.
And I think that maybe that question also applies to you, Mike. You've progressed significantly in your developer relations career as well. Anything to add?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think, I mean, the phenomenal thing is that MongoDB is so open and willing to let you, look, you've got to get your job done, and you're hired into a role, and there are specific deliverables associated with every role. But the great thing is with MongoDB that if you're a performer, if you work hard, if you have a good work ethic, if you're helping your teammates, opportunities to shift and change, even organizations and departments. I started MongoDB as a pre-sales solution architect, and I spent a couple of years doing that. And I was always interested in writing sample apps and speaking at conferences and doing screencasts. And I was just naturally driven and attracted to the developer advocacy role. And when an opportunity became available, I jumped, and I actually moved immediately from a pre-sales solution architect, individual contributor, to a leader in the developer relations space, and at a very senior level. And I'm going to be brutally honest here. It was a challenge for me to make that shift. And I think I probably underestimated the level of, not administration, but the level of people leadership that went into that role. And look, I gave it my best shot, and it was clear that the team was held back by my inability to grow the team fast enough. And this is not a negative commentary on myself. Like, I know that's an area for me to grow. But the beautiful thing is, like, I gave it a shot, and MongoDB said, "Fantastic, let's get somebody in the role that has done that before and is clearly more suited to fill those aspects where I struggled." And I've since dropped into an individual contributor role, and I'm having a blast. I'm having the best time of my life at MongoDB. So having a company that will support you in those types of changes is really just, more than I could ask for sure.
Now we actually have a positioning opening up on our team, right? I understand, Lauren?
Yes, we have a new DA position, developer advocate. They'll be focusing on written content for our Dev Hub, as well as video content for YouTube. And then, a few of the extra things thrown in, like we all do, events, streams, community, that sort of thing. So if you're interested in joining us, we would love to have you. And the rec should be opening soon-ish, sometime.
So we'll include a link to that rec as soon as it's available. But I think from a high level, you can visit mongodb.com/careers. And the roles in developer relations live under the engineering umbrella. So there's a section for the department, and that would be engineering.
Now, I know that we kind of threw this around the table a little bit in our pre-discussion on this episode, but I'd be interested in maybe possibly discussing the interview process for just DevRel in general, without going into like the secret sauce recipes. But I don't know what the terminology is to use it, but just get people like in the door, right? People are curious on what the process might look like.
So when I was interviewing, Mike recruited me, which was great. And the process was we did like an intro interview. And then the project we had to do was to write a blog post, I think on any topic related to MongoDB. And I wrote about the CRUD operations. And then I had a couple of like people-friendly interviews, and that went up the chain. But I think the process has changed a bit now. Instead of writing, I think you do a formal presentation for members on our team. And then I think there's a technical interview. I'm not sure. I'm not actually sure what our latest process is.
Yeah, it has evolved quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm the new guy on the team, so it's sort of, I think it's pretty much the same as that. I went through a few interviews, one of them being a presentation. I didn't have to do any algorithms like you would maybe I don't even know if that's still a thing in the software engineering world. It might be. I always hated those.
Yeah.
They're the worst.
But it was actually a more mellow experience, and at least for me during mine. We have a question coming in from the chat. As a professional DevRel, etc., how do you pick a topic to write about? Is it driven by the organization, or do you have the freedom to choose?
Great question. Do you want to take that, Lauren?
Sure. Most of the time I have the freedom to choose, which I really enjoy. I usually will say, I've been talking with people. This is what I think people are struggling with. And I'll probably break it up into a series. You guys know I love to make series. And that's what I write about. Sometimes we do get suggestions coming down from the top down. I know I've just joined Nick's little sub team, and we're the Atlas team. And I think I'm going to be writing more about Atlas related topics. We'll see what happens. Nick, what's your experience been? Have you been getting top down ideas?
No, I probably get maybe one kind of idea that's coming from the top a quarter, if that. The rest is all whatever's up to my imagination.
I really like that because it really lets our personality and our passions shine through. And I think the articles are better because we're writing about what we care about. And you can see that when you read it, that we care about what we're writing about.
And I think, we're all creative people, and we all have so many different things that we're interested in. So it's just naturally going to lead to a more complete representation of MongoDB. Like, I like the aggregation framework, and maybe Nick likes working in the Go driver space or something like that. So we naturally get a good distribution of coverage across all of the various aspects.
Yeah, for example, like I've been doing the game stuff, like Lauren said. Nobody told me to do the game stuff. I just like games, and I've been producing content around that.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
I will say it's not completely wide open. Like, you need to have those ideas. You need to come up with and make a plan, and you're expected to document what you will be doing, not down to the individual letters that you'll type as a part of the blog post, but at least make a commitment to the number of blog posts that you'll have and the basic areas and themes that you'll cover, right?
And I think I've seen in the title matrix, more junior team members will get ideas tossed to them. They're not expected to come up with ideas, right off the bat. So there's always a backlog of things that we can write about. And I'm always like, I just want to write about what I want to write about. But there are ideas. If you need ideas, people are willing to help you come up with ideas.
Lauren, is there anything we missed on this particular episode that you feel like it'd be a killer piece of advice for people who either are just coming out of school and want to be in the developer relations area or transition from another part of technology?
So I know it's kind of controversial. People have different opinions in DevRel about whether you should work as an engineer for a while and then come into DevRel, or if you can come right out of school or boot camp or whatever and go right into DevRel. And I tend to fall in the first camp. I think it's really valuable to have a few years of engineering experience. So you get your feet wet, you understand what it's like to work as an engineer, you understand the tooling, you kind of get all that experience. And to me, that makes you a better developer advocate. You can relate to the developers. So if you have the option, I would say go get a couple years of engineering experience and do a little DevRel on the side, and then come do it full time.
I will say that there's, we are in developer advocacy. We also have members of the team that are focused more on the community, and they may not write code at all. So under the developer relations umbrella, there's such a wide array of things that you can do. So if that's your bag, if you're not necessarily writing code, there's the developer relations community aspect. So, working in the community, working around messaging, working around, understanding what the needs of the developer community is, and then trying to work to serve those and bring the message to those folks.
Even nurturing like user groups, right?
For sure. And our community team is amazing. I love working with them. They're fantastic. I do want to throw out one more question for you guys. I want to talk about what makes working as a DA at MongoDB special, because I think there are some things that set us apart from other organizations doing developer advocacy. So I'll go first because I've been thinking about it. But we have professional speaking coaches. And to me, that is a huge perk. Like, my speaking has gotten so much better. And I love that I've got a team I can go to when I've got a new talk and I can say, can you help me? And they give me feedback on everything from structuring the talk to how to present it. Like yesterday, they were talking to me about how I should be like breathing from my chest. I don't know, I'm still working on it, but they're fantastic. And to me, that's a huge perk. And then another perk that I've been pushing Joe on, our management team, about is interning on the engineering teams. And they've told me in Q2 next year, I'm going to get to intern on one of our engineering teams. So I'm very excited to get back and do some full-time engineering to keep my skills fresh, which is huge. I've not heard of many other DA teams getting to do that.
Any details on which engineering team?
I think I'm going to end up on the Node drivers team if they'll have me. But like, I keep using the word intern because I really need to set the bar low. Like, I'm happy just to go in and like fix bugs, but like I want to experience their DevOps lifecycle again and like learn all the tools and just kind of be back in the engineering world.
Yeah, this is a great question coming in from Moto Breath Forever. As someone that would be considered a senior developer 10 plus years in a non-DevRel role, would you recommend applying for a junior role or something more in depth? So I would approach it this way. Like, gone are the days where you build a resume on paper and then expect to discuss all the different facets of your experience in an interview to impress someone. Today, and you guys can keep me honest here, but GitHub, build out your resume of projects that you've worked on, build those in the open. YouTube, create YouTube screencasts, videotape yourself doing talks, and engage with the community. Get involved in a user group. These are all things that they're absolutely free. And as a developer, as an engineer, the only limitations are on your time. So if you're really motivated and you really have the skills, do all of the above as much as you can, and that's going to put you in a position where you don't have to go for necessarily a super junior role, especially if you have major development and engineering skills. You can sit for mid-level or senior level DevRel position, so long as you can prove that you can do all of those things. Does that make sense? You guys agree with that?
Absolutely.
And I would say sell it to your employer, because a lot of us don't have extra free time. Like, sell it to your employer. Like, this stuff is valuable as a full-time engineer. So sell it, see what you can do on your regular clock, and build your portfolio that way. Yeah, for sure. I think a side promotion, I guess it would be called, is absolutely possible. Like, if this is something where your passion lies. If I were your employer, I would be interested in making sure that you're passionate about every day.
Yeah, portfolio-driven enhancement is absolutely beneficial.
Mm-hmm. This has been a great talk. I'm really glad that we got the opportunity to spend some time together, Lauren.
Definitely, yes.
Where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter as well as TikTok. Yes, I'm on TikTok with the kids. Both of those are the handle Lauren_Schaefer. You can also find me on LinkedIn. There I am, Lauren Hayward Schaefer. And you can find me on the MongoDB community, which we mentioned earlier today, community.mongodb.com.
Nick, anything else before we close out?
No, I think that's it, except for we should probably plug the podcast, especially for the people who are watching live, right? So if you want to catch episodes like this and even more, go to mongodb.com/podcast.
Yes.
We publish, 3 episodes a week, Mike?
2 or 3 a week, depending. We try and do an update, a MongoDB update on Monday mornings. I try and get some of the fresh product information out the door. Wednesday, we do the long-form interviews, and by long, I mean about 30 to 45 minutes. Those are published at 6 a.m. Eastern Wednesday morning. Got a really awesome one coming up this Wednesday. And then Friday, we do, we're starting to embark on an addition to the Built with MongoDB series coming out from the Emerging Developer Relations team. Those folks are doing some amazing stuff with the startup community. I formerly spent a lot of time with the startup, working on program management for the startup program. And we've got a lot of really great blog articles coming out around Built with MongoDB. And I've been kind of pilfering some of the folks that are featured in those blogs and having them on the podcast to talk about how they did what they did and what facets of the platform they're using.
We have a question coming in. What is the Emerging Developer Team?
Yeah, great question. So the Emerging Developer Relations Team obviously is part of the Developer Relations Team, and they focus specifically on academia and startups. So anything having to do with educators, so working directly with the folks that teach university classes and boot camps, making sure that they have the latest information about MongoDB so that they can pass it on to their students, and as well as students, so working directly with students. I mentioned earlier the GitHub Developer Pack program. MongoDB is partnered with GitHub, and we are offering special rewards to participants in the GitHub Student Developer Pack. You can find more information about that at students.mongodb.com. And so that's on the academia side. On the emerging developer side, in the startup space, you can check out mongodb.com/startups. We have a nurture program for startups, and you can get all sorts of benefits from MongoDB around MongoDB Atlas enablement. I think that about covers it. I hope I did it justice. I was formerly focused on emerging developer relations before moving into developer relations in the larger sense.
Well, Lauren, we appreciate that you are a repeat guest on the show, and
Woo!
I have no doubt we'll figure out a way to trick you into coming back again.
Yeah, probably. You keep dragging me back on the podcast and Twitch, so yes.
Because we love you.
All right, take it easy, everyone. Have a wonderful holiday.
Have a great day. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. Have a question or a suggestion for the show? Visit us in the MongoDB community forums at community.mongodb.com.